Welcome to the fourth and last part of this particular chapter. In this video, I am going to explain you about vouching of payments or credit side of cash payment. According to the syllabus, you have to study three items. First is vouching of cash purchases, secondly vouching of payments of creditors, and vouching of deferred revenue expenditure. Vouching of cash purchases and vouching of payment of creditors is almost same except 2 points. The first one, it is divided into cash purchases and as well as credit purchases, and we call them as, for cash purchases, supplier. For credit purchase we are going to call them as creditor. Rather than that, everything will be same to cash purchases as well as credit purchases. Other than that, the remaining points are going to be the same. First one, they are going to check the internal check system which is prevailing in the organization. They are going to estimate the efficiency of the internal control system. As earlier in the remaining part of videos I have stated, internal check system will be the first thing auditor is going to check. Secondly, invoice. In cash sales they are going to check supplier's invoice. In credit purchases they are going to check credit invoice. Okay, the differences are. Other than that, they are going to do what? First, they are going to check the entries in the cash book as well as purchase book or stores ledger. Okay, the auditor must check the entries in the cash book with cash memos supplied by the supplier, as well as the auditor has to make sure that all the entries are made in the purchase book. Then, net amount of purchase. Auditor must ensure that the net amount of purchases is recorded in the books of accounts. Okay, deducting all the discounts which is provided by the supplier, or the remaining amount has to be entered in the purchase book. Next is authorization of purchase. Here the auditor has to see that the purchases are duly authorized and payment to such kind of transactions are duly authorized and sanctioned by the concerned authority, because it should be confirmed that the purchase of goods is sanctioned by a responsible official of that particular department, and only those goods are purchased in which the organization deals. Point is, auditor has to see that the amount of payment which is made by the company is recorded to the appropriate accounts, cash book as well as supplier's account in the books of accounts. And he also vows the amount recorded in the cash book should match with the amount in the bill or a voucher. Next point is, the auditor is going to check the transactions of that particular purchase is only related to business purpose, nowhere related to personal use of a manager or the internal officials of that particular company. The auditor must make sure that the goods from the supplier is only for the purpose of business. Other than that, it is not treated as purchases, though it is cash or credit. And the auditor should insist on producing a duplicate voucher if the original vouchers are missing. The auditor must ask for a duplicate copy of the missing voucher for the payments made against to a cash purchase or a credit purchase. And finally, you should see that the purchase of any assets are not included in the purchase book, because purchase of any asset, it should be shown in the balance sheet in the asset side. It should not be showed in trading account or any purchases account. One important point is related to credit payment. It is payment of creditors is made according to the schedule of payment. So okay, the date in which the credit invoice states, which is predetermined, on that day it will be paid. But in cash purchases it will be paid automatically when you receive the goods. So the last and final topic here to discuss is vouching for deferred revenue expenditure. A deferred revenue expenditure is a revenue in nature, but it has its benefit for a several years or a subsequent year. It is done in this year or at the beginning of that particular year, but its benefit is going to give for a long period. So Professor Arnold Thompson has defined this particular deferred revenue expenditure as a non-recurring expenditure which are expected to be of financial benefit to several accounting period of indeterminate total length. Just for example, a preliminary expenses in the asset side, experimental expenses or a formation expenses in your asset side of balance sheet, which are a revenue in nature, which is an expenses in your formation stage of your company, but it will give you its benefit for several years up to that company exists in a market. Other than that, many examples are there. Installation of your plant and machinery or cost incurred for dismantling, removing or re-erecting of your particular machineries from one place to another place, shifting cost of research expenses, underwriting commission on issue of shares and debentures, etc. were considered as a deferred revenue expenditure, which gives their benefit at future period. So the duties of an auditor with reference to this particular deferred or revenue expenditures are as follows. The first one is the auditor should see that the deferred expenditures which are going to written off must be genuine in nature, which are mandatorily checked by the auditor whether it is incurred or not. Secondly, the auditor should check whether illegitimate expenses are illegal expenses which are written off over a number of years to show less profit in the profit and loss account. Thirdly, the auditor has to check all the vouchers and entries to know the correctness and accuracy of the amount which are amortized, written off gradually. Fourthly, it is the duty of the auditor to see that the correctness in the calculation of the amount written off, like deferred revenue expenditure, which is spread over a number of years, and it should be deducted or debited to profit and loss account. And finally, the remaining amount of this particular deferred revenue expenditure or any expenditure like preliminary expenditure should be recorded in the asset side of the balance sheet, the remaining amount. So, if you have any doubts regarding the aspects of vouching, you could ask me anytime through comment box, as well as you could also text through mail. Thank you for watching video.